What's the fastest way you have seen somebody ruin their life up? I had a friend in high school who got a full-ride athletic scholarship to a regionally prestigious college. He was all set to go when his mom and girlfriend begged him to stay in town instead because they loved him so much and couldn't bear for him to be away. So he gave up his full scholarship and stayed home instead. Within a year his girlfriend had dumped him and his mom had kicked him out of the house. The opportunity had passed and now he was living in town without the things he'd sacrificed that opportunity for. Granted, it looks like he's happy based on current Facebook. Who doesn't look happy on Facebook, really? But things really went to shit for him quick. A kid at school decided to show off by jumping off the school roof onto a mattress. He slipped and fell 20 feet onto his head. Can't move anything below his neck now. I've worked on and off as a line cook. A guy hurt his back, got hooked on painkillers, lost everything, killed himself, all in about a year. Nothing anybody could do. It was just a downward spiral. Girl I know overcame a household destroyed by drugs, did really well, and eventually became a physician assistant. She had surgery, got hooked on opioids like her parents, and started writing/filling fraudulent prescriptions with a couple other PAs at the hospital she worked in. Got caught, arrested, did her time, and cleaned up. She got off probation and immediately started doing drugs again with people she met in a rehab program. When I knew her, she was such a kind, smart, funny person. It's really sad. A former teacher friend ruined her marriage, her career, and social life by sleeping with a student that she and her husband had legally adopted together a few years before. Cheating on her husband and graduating from cocaine to crack. Went from being queen bee socialite to outcast within 2 years. College buddy, seemingly normal guy, but got a little angry when he drank maybe more than a little. One night he went next level and a few of us were holding him back from a girl he was literally trying to fight. It went downhill from there, and soon the cops came. He ended up swinging on a cop, wresting his gun from him, and managing to fire it. No one was hurt, but last I heard he was still in prison. Anecdotal story. One summer, my younger brother's friends were partying at a lake. All in their mid-20s. I think they had rented a pontoon or houseboat, can't remember for sure. But one guy dives off the boat into shallow water and hit bottom. He was instantly, and now permanently, paralyzed from the neck down. That means he needs to be fed, bathed, clothed, everything, by somebody else. My brother and friends still take him out to movies and restaurants, hell even amusement parks, and they take turns pushing his wheelchair and feeding him. My worst fear is being paralyzed like this. I'm such a fiercely independent person that death would be better. Stay safe while partying, gang. Not directly seen, but my cousin got too drunk one night. His brother put him in a taxi home and told the driver he would get paid when dropped off at his mum's. Cousin so drunk doesn't realize this and starts freaking out about having no money and demands the taxi driver lets him out. Cousin getting angry about it, so taxi driver does. The road he is out on is the M8, the biggest motorway in Scotland, quiet at night, but still cars coming down. Cousin is walking on the motorway, all over the place. Two cars swerve round him, one of which pulls over and rings the police. While on the phone to police she hears a massive thud and screeching brakes. Some poor guy on the way home from work, on the same road he always drives down, at the same time, hit him. My cousin is dead. If he hadn't have drank so much or acted in such a way he would be alive. The driver who hit him will be scarred for life. The taxi driver will have the what if in his life forever. My aunt is severely depressed, a recluse who doesn't go out. After 10 years she still hasn't cleared out his room for life's fucked up quite quickly. E8 in the army got drunk and tried to have sex with my then fiance. He knew I was on the road that night, MP, and that my fiance had been drinking and was in my barracks room. He got in the room somehow, still haven't figured that one out, and started eating her out while she was asleep on the bed. When she realized it wasn't me, she screamed at him, but he kept trying. The reason he was drunk was because he was celebrating his retirement. Instead of happily retiring with full benefits as an E8, he was court-martialed, demoted to E1 and dishonorably discharged. I also heard his wife divorced him. A friend I met during freshman year of college came in with thousands of dollars saved from refereeing for youth sports, which I guess pays pretty well. He spent all of that money in about a month. He did ecstasy nearly every day and had a 2-week coke binge on top of that in the middle. Despite my and others' efforts to get him to get his shit together, he was kicked out of the school with a .28 GPA by the end of his first year. From there he was kicked out of family homes for stealing money and prescription meds and ended up living out of a yellow convertible someone sold him for $300. From all this was born some sort of eating disorder. I met up with him and bought him some food and he couldn't even fit 3 garlic knots in before he felt sick. He was so fucked that his skin was basically purple with a yellowish sheen. It was fucking awful. We lost touch because he kept being an asshole and did some pretty meh things on the friend scale, but I ran into him a few years ago and he was actually doing pretty well. A girl had helped him clean up and he had some fat and life in his face again. Man, my story is like super PG rated compared to some of these. One of my best friends is who it happened to. To preface, this happened over a few months span. Basically super successful working for an oil and gas firm, 24 years old. For some reason goes through a recruiting service to find a better paying job. Ends up finding one, but the deal was not 100% done yet. He takes a few months off and decides to quit his job knowing that he's about to start a better paying one. Also buys a fucking house in the middle of all this, knowing he's about to make more money. A week before he is supposed to start. Oh, by the way, we filled this position, so you should probably just stay put until further notice. He burned bridges to leave his old job, so he was not able to go back to work there. Had about $500 to his name with over $3,000 plus in bills/truck/car notes/new mortgage. Had to work for a $10/HR job and sell off all of his stuff to get back on his feet. Again, this is just the worst I've seen personally. He seriously had it made before this. He didn't get an offer letter. Let me repeat. He quit his job without receiving an official offer letter. That's the level of fucking up we are talking about here. I worked in construction when I was 19. This electrician would do heroin right before work in the parking lot. He was my ride and he would shoot it up right in front of me as if it was nothing. He was such a pro, he would shoot the perfect amount to be still functional. The guy had almost perfected the art of sleeping, really passing out on top of 14-foot ladders until one day he falls and destroys his spine. Now he can barely walk, lives on shelters, shoots heroin, and his family and life are gone. Reddit won't like this answer, but weed. Guy I used to know at school who was quite clever and cold, easily done something with his life, started using weed, quickly jumped fully into weed culture, naturally got himself fired for smoking weed at work, and now can't get another job because of it. If he hadn't started, his life would be very different. A guy, Dave, that I worked with at my first job out of university. We were both engineers that started at the same time. Around 6 months into our jobs, Dave's long-term girlfriend, whom he had been with since the 5th or 6th grade, cheated on him. They broke up, and he took it really badly, as anyone would. I remember his dad coming to our office with him, and them having a meeting with our team leader and program manager, then agreeing that Dave would take like 2 weeks or at least some amount of extended time off to get his life together. The rest of this was all relayed to me by my boss some year and a half later, as I never saw or spoke to Dave again after those few weeks he was gone. During those weeks Dave was not coming to work. He somehow got involved with her 18-year-old high school dropout, and it all went so shit when one night she called Dave to come pick her up from a party or something that she really didn't want to be at or was in some kind of danger being at. Dave agrees and drives 800 miles to this party that's 3 states away to pick her up. Once there, it's the 18-year-old girl and her 2 friends that he picks up. During this car ride they do some meth and/or buy some meth and decide it's a good time to try and rob a convenience store on their way home. Dave doesn't physically do any of the actual burglary, but drives his car to the store, lets the 2 friends get out, and they rob the place. At some point during, they threaten the cashier with a gun and hit him with it, then get back in the car with the money they took, and Dave drives away. They are stopped by state troopers sometime later, still in that state, and all of them are arrested. Dave is booked for aggravated robbery, possession of a unregistered firearm and possession of the meth. Last I heard he's still at FCI Loretto.